Soul Eater did what modern anime won't, and now I'm very curious about this. I am not the biggest Soul Eater fan. I will fully admit that I've tried to watch Soul Eater a few times, and I just can't get into it, right? I just can't get into Soul Eater. But I do love Fire Force. I love Fire Force a whole lot. I think Fire Force is incredible. It's one of my favorite, animes out there currently. Now I know there's a lot of people that are like, Fire Force is poo-poo or whatever. I like it. I haven't started watching season 3 yet, but season 1 and 2 were incredible. Well, let's see what Soul Eater did that modern anime won't do.
It's the mass sellout. Don't worry, the 60 to 90 second punchline is incoming. And you know what's one of my favorite things when reading a manga or watching an anime? Being like, wow, I can list 10 different things that look just like this. If the title was confusing in terms of where I'm going with this, anime and manga, due to its huge spike in popularity in the last 10 to 15 years, there's been a surplus of new series that we have access to. Unfortunately, going through most of these feels like going through many Souls-like games, massively disappointing and losing me within the first 5 minutes, a feeling I did not have at all with Soul Eater. As soon as you enter the world of Soul Eater, it's
Yeah, I did though. So this is where my criticism kind of hit. I think the world is very interesting, but I think there was a lot of stuff that annoyed me in Soul Eater right off the bat. I don't know what it was. It's been a really long time. I need to retry Soul Eater, give it another chance. But there was just something about it that annoyed the I don't know. It was just something annoying about it that I didn't like. Now, I was still pretty early into my like retread into anime when I tried to watch Soul Eater. So I think maybe I would have more of a, more of a tolerance for some of the cringy stuff that hits you in the first few episodes of Soul Eater that I remember making me click off the show. But as it sat when I watched it last time, I just didn't hit for me.
Stays with you. Of course, eventually the strong personalities of the characters and memorable arcs and fights do it, but before that even, the color of the sky, the city itself, the sun during the day and the moon during the night, the world building and style of Soul Eater is like great music in a video game or series. It sticks with you, even if it's been years since you visited it. Now, I don't think Soul Eater is the only series to get it right. Dorohedoro, Land of the Lustrous, Chainsaw Man, Mob Psycho. There are plenty of good examples of what
Mob Psycho's peak is shit, dude. Mob Psycho is one of the greatest animes ever done from beginning to end. One that is finished, an anime that is finished. This is up there in some of my top anime I've ever seen. I mean, this is just an incredible show.
So many series seem to not care for at all because they don't need to. A unique style. Sometimes something is unique at first and becomes a massive success, so then magazines and studios look and push things that are like said series since it's less of a risk. However, the increasing amount of times that gets done, the more and more it seems to be watered down. We as the audience might have some blame because we keep pumping money into it. As a great philosopher once said, any good fad comes with its fair share of bootlegs.
Now I want you to tell me a better life than being turned into a sentient mushroom. Shut up, you can't. To make it even better, you've been isekai'd into a small town, beautiful and surrounded by women.
Oh,
and
shit.
QR code or the link below and more. Now, being
that is a great ad read.
Unique doesn't automatically make something good, but it adds an undeniable charm. It's a visual form of entertainment, and the privilege to bring a vision to life and have it shared with the world is the blood of the creator. Seeing that blood spilled in vain for me is frustrating. There is nothing new under the sun, and seeing the inspiration of a series takes—
This show was such a fucking L, dude. Shield Hero had such a strong start, and it just fucking nosedived so fast, dude. Like, by the time they're fighting the turtle and shit, there was nothing that could make me care any less about this. Once he, like, it sucks because once he gets his redemption with the kingdom and everything, Shield Hero becomes like the most boring, intolerable show I've ever seen.
From another is not what I'm referring to either. My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, or any popular shonen that people might lump in as hyper generic, you know, I understand the writing in those series is honestly more the discussion there, but in terms of style, each of those series and their characters can mostly be recognized by their silhouette. Granted, popularity has something to do with that, but it is undeniable no matter how you feel about those series, the mangaka can be associated with that work. You can see that an individual soul was poured into this. In Jujutsu Kaisen's case, it was Akutami's hatred. Seriously, that man hates his children like a Mexican parent. With something like Soul Eater, the very essence of the author can be felt in everything, from the concepts of the weapons and the fighting, the design of the characters, the feeling of the world itself. I haven't seen Soul Eater, the anime, in almost a decade, and yet it stuck stuck with me far more than so many of the other things that I have to read. And the fact that it was able to stand out during a time period like was manga in the 2000s is extremely impressive considering all the heavy hitters that came out.
Dude. Okay, I will say that Soul Eater, what I watched of it, way more interesting than Naruto, but I watched Naruto for way longer than I should have ever fucking watched Naruto because everybody kept telling me it gets good, it gets good, it gets good, it fucking gets good, and it's just terrible. It's garbage. Like Soul Eater was one where I watched a few episodes, said it's not really hitting for me. I'll go back to it later. But again, dude, Soul Eater has something interesting where eventually I do want to get back to it. I do want to give it another chance. But there is nothing about Naruto. I watched all the way through the Pain arc, and there was nothing I enjoyed particular about it. I thought it was mid as shit. I thought it was fucking, dude. And the Naruto fans are so fucking insufferable about it. I love it, dude. I love it. That's why it's become a meme on my channel where every time Naruto gets brought up, I call it the worst anime ever. I know it's not the worst anime ever, but it's fucking garbage to me, and I'm gonna shit on it for eternity.
During that time. Contrast that with the litany of isekai that come out every season, and it's not just isekai, and there are some good ones of course, but the sheer amount of ones that seem to be trying their hardest to blend in are relying on a cheaply absurd premise to garner attention. It doesn't feel like a person made this and put a piece of themselves into what they made, but instead
there was one that came out recently that I thought was incredible. It was like campfire cooking. I can't remember what the whole name was because all these isekais have like fucking 80,000 words in their name, but there was like a campfire cooking thing where it was like this guy was summoned with a bunch of heroes and his skill was like fucking online shopping, and he ended up just cooking for this like super creature, and they just like kind of happenstance their way into battles. It's an incredible show. It has a lot. It feels fresh and authentic, but I can see how it could get lost in the lump sum of all these other garbage isekais. But that campfire cooking one's pretty fire.
Feels like shit that's being pushed by a studio for the sakes of it, and I'd assume money, but surely it can't be enough to justify the sheer amount that's being pumped out. This is pretty bad in anime and manga since the explosive impact SAO made, but over in the manhwa sphere it's not much better. Solo Leveling, back when I read it, I thought it was a pretty cool series for about 80 chapters, but the amount of
Hey, if you're a gun owner who wants to shoot...
Bro, I fucking love Solo Leveling. I know that it's not the most, like, incredible, deep shit, but the battles, bro. The battles in Solo Leveling and the chaos in Solo Level, I love that. I love it, dude. I fucking love Solo Leveling, and I can't wait to keep watching more and more. There's nothing... See, and this is the thing, too. I want to kind of, like, say on my behalf of, like, I'm willing to overlook the slop as long as it's, like, fucking fun and entertaining. If it's slop, but it's fun and entertaining, dude, I'm not gonna, like, sit here and like whine about it. Like when it came to Naruto, there was just like I found Naruto as a character insufferable, right? I just didn't enjoy him. I don't like him. I don't find him engaging, so that's why I left that show. Now, to say that the show's just completely awful, I'm gonna say the show's completely awful because I fucking hate all of it. But like when I look at Solo Leveling, the character, it's not putting a lot of work into like I would say like the characters or anything, but I do think that the action and the battles and the premise is so incredible that it wants me to keep going forward.
Pushed by platforms that are blatant copy and paste of the things that made Solo Leveling appealing has poisoned the well for a medium that was seen as an alternate option for manga readers. I think it is worth clarifying that I do think all because something is oversaturated does not mean it cannot be done well still. Again, I thought Solo Leveling was pretty enjoyable, and Hardcore Leveling had a lot of soul to it, if you will. I just wish there was a word filter on manga sites where I could take out the word level, hero, world, or life. If I had a gun to your head and you had to guess the silhouette of these 5 characters, assuming you had seen or read a decent amount of manga and anime, you might have a pretty good chance.
This is the guy from My Hero Academia. He's the fucking ball guy. I think this guy's Helsing. I don't know the other 3.
Chance of surviving. Versus a silhouette of these 5, your chances of survival just dropped massively. I envy
again, both I was bad on all of those. I'm so bad at figuring out silhouettes.
People who could put it aside for more than a few episodes. The same soundtracks, the same medieval fantasy armor and castles, and street vendors and grassy hills, the same leveling up system, the same dark-haired main character who needs to explain every little fucking detail in his internal monologue. Could I not be spoon-fed? The same perv humor Japan has been gargling on since the creation of Earth, it seems. I'm aware that some people aren't a fan of the series like Blam, But when you read, and again, maybe I find myself in a weird position because like I kind of have to look through a lot of this stuff to find something interesting to then make a video out of. So I have gone through quite a lot, and when you read
No, I get this because this show's fucking awful. I like, it's not awful, but it's like, I started watching this one in particular, and this is the most pervy, disgusting show I've ever seen. I can't even remember what it's called, but it is super pervy to the point that I was like, no, get me the fuck away from this, dude. I got like 4 episodes into this, and I said, this is disgusting. This is like, this borderlines, I can't remember what this is called, but I got to the point where he like buys these slave girls, which is already a horrible premise, but he buys these slave girls, and one of them like gets naked, and I said, nope, that is like a fucking 12-year-old. Nope, get me the fuck out of here. This is like hard drive checking material. I don't remember what this show is called. You can tell me in the chat, but this is one of the most disgusting shows ever made.
That spoon feeds you over and over and over again. You find something that just throws you in the dark and is like, figure it out for yourself, and feels like you're allowed to breathe air for once. Look, if I have to see one more YouTube short pop up talking about how this character has max aura and it's another shitty webtoon that loses its appeal after 1 chapter, I might commit a few war crimes. Although shout out to the channels that do hour-plus recaps of these things, because your willpower is far greater than mine. Like, I'll read one, I'll be like, wow, this would make for a really cool thumbnail and title, but listen, I can only sell out for like a minute and a half. All right, that's all I got. I'm not even really getting into the writing, since there are series that do care about that end, and it's a different discussion. But what is the point of being a visual form of entertainment and not taking advantage of it? Chowder, for fuck's sake, had more personality than most.
Fuck Chowder. I hate Chowder. I'm not gonna lie. I really. So I know a lot of people like Chowder. When I was a kid and Chowder was on, I tried to watch it. Every time I watched Chowder, I just felt uncomfortable, and it made me kind of feel like. So there's shows out there that you'll watch, and there's something that'll make you uneasy about it, and you just don't want to continue watching it. And Chowder was one of those for me. It made me like, I don't know. It just made me wildly uncomfortable, and it was almost like it would make me feel sick.
Of the things I end up dropping in search for something to recommend that isn't something the wonderful comment section throws at me. It's perfectly okay if you like watching isekai or anything that is considered generic. How you choose to take a break from reality is not for me to decide, and I'm not trying to guilt trip you into feeling like you're not allowed to anymore. But I personally despise being able to perfectly guess what a series is going to do just by looking at it, and investing time into something that fails to keep me invested, constantly being hit with visual cues that break immersion every chance it gets. In most anime that come out today, Excalibur is this weapon that some loser gets after grinding for an eternity in 1 episode, and is this great old weapon that beats everything he encounters. In Soul Eater, Excalibur is an annoying piece of shit. Even smaller things like shooting 2 pistols with your pinkies is something that visually leaves a bit of a staple in somebody's mind. Something like Dorohedoro pushes the envelope even further, where if you just looked at the characters and their design.
I need to watch Dorohedoro. I actually don't have Netflix right now because I got sick of not having anything on Netflix to watch. And eventually I will get it again, so I want to watch this. But every time I hear Dorohedoro, I think of Dororo. Dororo. There's another one that gets constantly confused with this one, and Dororo is one of the best anime I've ever seen. It's Dororo. Let's see if I can find it. This one right here. This right here is one of the best anime I have ever seen, dude. Dororo, however you fucking say that. Dororo is one of the best anime I've ever seen. It's incredible. The pacing's great. The story beats are good. I love that one. I think I have like 4 episodes left, but it is incredible.
Without any context, I'd be impressed if you could perfectly guess who was on the good guy side and who was on the bad guy side. Well, at least for the beginning of the series. But maybe I'm a little cranky after watching the Uzumaki anime, something that was a testament to taking the risk for a unique style, a wonderful showcase of what can be done with horror anime.
I heard that was ass. I heard the Uzumaki anime was ass. Like, it started out really good, and then it just fucking stopped trying. That's what I heard happened. Now, I haven't watched it because because of how bad I heard the Uzumaki anime was.
For 1 episode. Hell's Paradise is also massively disappointing.
For 1 episode. He said for 1 episode.
In comparison to the manga. But that is a whole different rabbit hole. Manga.
Dude, I tried to watch Hell's Paradise and I got so bored after like 4 episodes.
like Red Riding Hood gets axed, but the hero who seeks revenge shall exterminate with darkness is still ongoing with 97 chapters. And I understand it's different magazines, but this has to be some form of hate crime against creativity. I love it when the color palette of a piece communicates feeling just as loud as anything the characters say. The expression in the eyes, and given how god-awful dialogue can be in anime, having characters stay silent and allow the art and the style in which the mangaka or anime studio conveys the emotion can be super impactful. It's not just creativity. Creativity is important, but that feeling that something authentic is being made can be felt, which along with nostalgia gives a lot of power to anime that came out 20 plus
Now that I'm seeing all this like color palette stuff and how cool fucking like I didn't get very far in Soul Eater, so I'm not like one of those people that says Soul Eater is trash. I just literally watched like the first 2 episodes, said I'll get to it later, and then never went back to it. The more I'm seeing this, the more I want to dive into Soul Eater.
years ago. I spent a lot of time on this channel talking about what makes a character amazing in terms of what is being written. But if I only cared about that...
And also, I heard that Soul Eater actually caught up to the manga and then ended the show. So I kind of am waiting for Fire Force to end and to see where it ties into Soul Eater, and then watch Soul Eater. Just to like get a whole continual thought. And I think that they're probably going to reboot Soul Eater because of the fact that the show ends up going away from the manga.
It would have turned into a book channel a long time ago, and my thumbnails would be taken out of context way more on Twitter. But I'm genuinely passionate about Blam, JoJo's, Dorohedoro, Gurren Lagann, Soul Eater, Dragon Ball, One Piece, for being pieces of a person's mind and soul.
Dude, One Piece is incredible. One Piece is incredible. I like Dragon Ball. I haven't seen Blam.
That allows me to be inspired and helps millions of people around the world take a break and dream. There's a quote by Urasawa, my favorite mangaka ever, that encapsulates what makes manga so special. But I think the essence of it can be applied to anime as well. The interviewer says, unfortunately, we only have time for one more question, so I would like to ask a pretty broad, open-ended one. What can manga do as a medium that no other art form can? Urasawa responds, quote, let's take another format, the movie for example. You have a massive budget and so many different people involved. It takes years to gather all the sponsors, get the casting just right. There's so many players involved to create just one product. With manga, all you really need is a white piece of paper and a pen. No other medium lets you translate your imagination into visuals as fast as manga. Manga can take you to the other side of the universe in an instant. Manga can take you to a distant future.
This is fair. So far, I know that I'm pausing right in the middle of this quote, but I want to like kind of encompass this with how superhero comics used to be. So in the earlier days, like I would say probably the 80s and 90s of like US comics, there was a lot more imagination, a lot more pushing, and it's sort of then devolved kind of toward like the 2010s to like the 2013 on, like started like pushing into the most generic shit possible, and anime's kind of doing the same thing right now. I think Japan's kind of hitting their fucking like boring zone where they're just trying to live off of the success of something else. They're trying to just keep on stacking out. Now what the US has done is they just keep fucking starting the same character over and over again, compared to where anime will just like start a new generic world that is basically the same story but different character names, but you totally know what it attaches to. When you look at what the US comics are doing, it's very similar in the same regard, only they're just utilizing the same character. But if you look back at like what was going on in the 80s and then 90s and early 2000s, and then even previous before that, obviously, when like the inception of Superman and Spider-Man and all these guys, yes, they were generic now when we look back at them, but at the time they were pretty cool. And it was like there's this new format in comic books that was able to tell a story that felt higher budget, that felt like they could really let your imagination go wild while still encompassing it in a visual format. And it's something that is it was incredible and artistic, and now it's kind of devolved into generic slop.
Future with spectacular technology, or to the far past where there were dinosaurs. I truly believe that no other medium allows creators to express their feelings as efficiently as manga." End quote. So what can every anime and manga learn, not just from Soul Eater, but the plethora of series that carry a piece of its creator? It doesn't matter if it's the character designs, the backgrounds, or even the sun and moon in your world. Make something that people can attribute to a soul.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't what I thought the video was going to be about. to be honest. What Soul Eater did, the modern anime won't do, because like, okay, so I think that he is right in a lot of sense of his statement here with comparing Soul Eater to like the endless supply of isekais we have. Which is funny because his sponsorship was literally taking you to an Isekai game, which was probably generic as fuck. I mean, if we're going to look at the hypocrisy in that, I mean, yes, I'm going to be a nitpicky asshole because I'm always a nitpicky asshole. This isn't ever me condemning the creator or saying that I hate him for making this video, but I do think that there is stuff that is coming out every day that does push the envelope. I mean, he used at the beginning of the video, right? He talked about Mob Psycho, right? And Mob Psycho, I think, is something incredible that pushed art style, and that is it ended like 2 years ago, right? And it only ran for like 3 or 4 seasons, but it was like fully encompassed, the story beginning to end, and it was a lot of these other ones that are in this video that he's utilizing as examples of slop were running at the same time as Mob Psycho. So to say that to like make the modern anime won't do it is he is also contradicting himself in the same video, which is which happens when you're doing kind of these idea thought pieces and you have an argument that you want to push. But I would have like omitted that section if you were just trying to bolster your argument, because that just makes this whole thing look like, okay, well, there is a modern anime. And then he also talked about Doro Doro that is doing shit like that, and that is a modern anime that's doing it. So at the same time, we're looking at all these examples that are contradicting themselves, where I think that this video loses a lot of its plot, and this is probably one of my least favorite Masked Man videos. I really don't think that this one landed on its feet as well as it should have. But that's all I got for that one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.